What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of my $10 to 10K grind. This is a kind of a special episode, a summary episode, meaning this will be 5 to 10 minutes. That's what I'm aiming for. And I want to do this all the time now. So I'm releasing the full one, meaning the full grind, where you can verify every play I make, every dollar we win, every dollar we lose, because I want full transparency of this challenge. But at the same time, I'm releasing this summary because it's probably not for everyone watching 1 hour, 2 hours of grind, seeing every ABC play I make, which is most of what's happening. So what I do in this summary stuff is short video, maybe up to 15 minutes, 5 to 10 usually, showing the initial conditions, so our bankroll, leaderboard, and all these stats, just showing the document. And at the end, I show the results. And in between, I will look at a few spots in retro where we kind of have a distance and more time to think about it and just explaining what's going on, what's interesting about it. And the reason I'm doing this for this episode starting here is, but I will do it for any, because I kind of fucked up with my audio and I didn't record the audio. So yeah, I'll link to the full episode, but there's no audio. And maybe you come from this episode because you saw my comment that there's no audio in this. Just check out the summary. Anyway, welcome and let's start. So yeah, this was the initial condition. It was Monday and the last 2 sessions were losing. We were on a losing streak before, and we noticed that our play generally kind of suffered. We went up to 100. Let me show you, where is it? Our bankroll went up to 100 quite quickly, like we were cruising up. And it's kind of too easy to get into a state where you feel comfortable and kind of a little bit bored, like your brain is saying, okay, you're winning anyway, so just click the buttons and it will be fine. You're not looking at every spot in a really deep thinking way, as you should be, ideally. If you're just four-tabling, it's possible almost. Sometimes there's a lot of action, but usually you can really think through a spot. And so I think we opted to the loose play too often, slightly, which results in making maybe plus chip EV calls or shoves, but they could be minus dollar EV. And this can definitely change the course of a grind. And generally speaking, if you shove wider, you just increase variance slightly, I think. Because yeah, sure, your king 5 suited from the cutoff with 6.5 big blinds, 5 left, could be a profitable shove, maybe even in dollar EV slightly, but it's so slight. And there's a high variance because if you're on the cutoff, there are 3 players after you, they might wake up. So if you do that too often, you have a chance of more crazy sessions. And I think that's part of what happened. Yes, we ran bad. We had like many spots where our aces were totally dead, or just didn't hold on a turn all in because the other player made trips on the river, stuff like that. It happened a lot, and definitely bad run. But also our game kind of changed. And that was what we are trying to change in this episode. Yeah. So without further ado, I want to jump in. Well, let's show the graphs. So I also added the BR pure, means bankroll pure, meaning it's the bankroll without the leaderboard money. I just added it to give a more, I don't know, realistic. It's not realistic. I mean, this is also realistic because we're getting the leaderboard money and it's real money. But for someone who's not able to grind that much, they can more, this is a more attainable graph maybe. And I think it's just interesting to see, like, separate what we are getting from leaderboard, what are we getting from this one, from the real grind. So yeah, that's our graph. You see it went down quite a bit. I mean, it's not a nice feeling like having 1, 2, 3, 1 plus 4, 5 losing sessions in a row. It also affects, you can see it in the hourly, where this mega session where we made 18 euro in one session, insane. It was an hour session, so that's why it's almost 18 euros per hour also. But then bam, 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 negative sessions. And this may not seem like much, but I think it was a 3-hour session or something. So minus 3 hour times 3 hours, that's minus 9. So yeah, but we're gonna jump into some spots. I wanna check especially ICM spots, which are usually very interesting. And we have an interesting one here already. So let's look at this and let's zoom in. What's the speed? I can adjust the speed. Okay, let's just leave it at 1 for now. So we should really think like ace-8 off. Is it a call if some of these guys goes all in? And I think it's a call against him and against him, but not if both of them are all in. So because we are way ahead of what should be his shuffling range, we are always saying what should, because we never know what the players are actually doing. But usually if their ranges are way off, meaning way off, it's usually good for you unless they are tighter. So if he's tighter than he should be, that means we also have to call with a tighter range. But ace-8 should generally perform well here. So yeah, let's see what is going on. He limps, which is a very strange spot. Should we jam or should we just see the flop? I think we probably should just see the flop. It could be a strong range and we could still get off if the flop is very bad and he just donk jams. So giving us the maximum room like to make decisions and the maximum kind of information, meaning we also get to see the flop, I think is the best way to go here. So yeah, of course, but let's first see what he's doing. Hello. And he jams. Yeah, given this case, I think it's a clear fold. Why? Well, he's all in, so he's probably busting unless he's super lucky, and even then he's almost dead again because he only has 0.4 or 0.6 big blinds or something. And then we would be on a direct bubble. And if he calls, we have a good chance that both players are busting and we would be immediately ITM. So definitely folding here. Yeah, we might be still ahead of his range, but we are not even sure. And if you lose this and some of them wins, it's a disaster because we are just out, no chips. And having 4 big blinds against whatever happens is still a good stack in this situation. So I hope I'm folding, and I am, yeah. And was he doing okay? He's calling. Okay, well, this is one of the best spots we can hope for. Just hoping his queens hold. And they do. Yeah, so that's amazing. That's amazing because now we are ITM. I think there was an interesting spot before. I tried to record this video before and then another, so that's why I know it. Anyway, I don't want to show the result, but what can you do? Yeah, okay, yes, so it's this spot. I think ICM spots are one of the most interesting. Let's reduce the speed. Okay, we're getting dealt our hands. And so first to note, again, this is a few hands prior to the one I just discussed. Here we see him having almost no big blinds. He has exactly the same stack as us, 3.2. We have 4.1, so it's 4.2 with this big blind. And we have 4.1, and he has all of us covered. So the question now is, should we shove this? I mean, limping is not an option. Just trust me on that. Folding is an option and shoving is an option, so going all in is an option. And we really have to think what happens in which scenario. So if we fold, we have a okay stack. It's not great, but we still have 4.1 big blinds. However, next time we are in the big blind. So we actually have 3.1 big blinds and 1 big blind here in the middle. If we fold, he is still the big stack. He still has us slightly covered. Especially if he wins this current hand. So our chances would not change much, but they are definitely not great because we need ideally him. He will bust is quite unlikely, but him to bust the tournament so that we can get in the money. Yeah, he is almost out, but still 1.1 big blind. A lot of things can happen, but kind of does not matter too much because if you shove here and he calls, well, he will win one of our big blinds. It's not great, but it's not the end of the world. If he calls and we lose, we are out. If he calls and we lose, we are out. But if we go all in, we also have some fold equity, especially against him, because he shouldn't call too widely. He wants to preserve his great position. because he's definitely first right now and has a super good chance of making it in the money, getting €1.50, and also a good chance to get first. And he will call all the hands that crush us, like King Queen suited, King Jack suited, maybe even offsuit. He will call quite likely. I think he would probably. And all the Ace X hands, they don't crush us except if they have the same kicker like we have, but they are slightly ahead. Any pair, I guess he's calling, maybe not deuces and threes, but I think fours plus, very likely. And I also think he actually calls deuces here, but I'm not sure. And so yeah, his calling range is ahead of our range, that's for sure. But against a lot of pairs like tens and below, we are flipping, which is great. I mean, tens is a very strong hand, but we're still flipping with our hand. And we have a lot of fold equity because, yeah, he might call his King 5 suited plus maybe and King 8 off, maybe, or maybe not. King 10, I think he probably calls, but it's on the edge. But he has a ton of hands that he just has to fold. Same with him, of course. I think his folding range needs to be a little bit higher because he's still to act behind. We don't know if he takes that into consideration, but let's assume he does. But because we have to make some assumptions. Maybe he is even way too tight. That would benefit us very well. So generally speaking, if we win this against him, let's not talk too much about him, but against him. So he's out, like almost. He has 0.1 big blind left. We have a great stack that can compete with his stack. So we increase our chance to finish first drastically, to finish ITM up. That's now very, very high because there's just this baby stack if he doesn't call left. And yeah, so I think it's a plus EV thing, especially if you consider future moves. Because in the future, we will be in the big blind and he can shove on us a very wide range, and we need him to bust. That's the thing, right? We don't have many options like, oh, we choose a better spot. Will we even get a better spot if we card that? No, we won't. And then we just blind down, and then we have to pray that when we all in the big blind a few rounds later, we survive. So yeah, sure, he could wake up. That would be bad. He can wake up, and there could be a chance that in later rounds they battle each other and he busts, but maybe not. So I think given we can collect 1.5 big blinds uncontested, or if called still have a good chance to win, we have to shove this. But it's a very close spot. I'm not completely sure. Let's see what happens, just for fun. Okay, we shove, so he calls. Yeah, I think he will call any ace X, any pair, and stronger broadways, maybe even Jack 10 suited plus. Maybe he's gambly and wants to play 9-8 suited, which I don't think he should, but yeah. So that's annoying, but what can you do? He folds, we are happy to see it because, yeah, the less players in the spot we have to compete against, the better. We also hope that he folds, of course, but as I said, if he calls, we still have some equity. And he tanks a little bit and calls. So no, he didn't tank. I think ace queen, which is just totally top of his range. I think it's a snap call, of course. The only good thing is, like I said, he doesn't really matter. 3.7 big blind is not much. But we are playing for the side pot of 6 big blinds, which is crucial. It's very unlucky that he really has the hand that totally dominates us because he blocks, well, he's the better kicker and we have both a queen. So if a queen comes, he's still ahead. That's very unfortunate. Him waking up with aces, yeah, good for him, like dream scenario as the baby stack. What can you do? It's just a cooler for us. We shouldn't like worry too much in retro what happened. I think our analysis of shoving is still right. Just unlucky we ran into monsters. Let's go. The flop is not great. The turn is fantastic for us. We still have outs and we bink it, which means we win the side pot. He is still alive again. He's almost dead, leaving him 0.2 big blinds. And now is the hand we just discussed before. Okay, so let's skip ahead a little bit and see if we can find some interesting bubble plays. Maybe here, generally in the 10x, oops, zoom out. Maybe in the 10x there are some interesting plays. Yeah, okay, this is interesting. Bum, bum, bum. Standard, standard, standard. Then we'll see. Yeah, I raised 7.5. Yeah, not 7. 7.5 suited under the gun, and I think it's a mistake. The reason is he will rejam all suited aces, almost all pairs, some broadways maybe, because he's really short. He needs to make something happen. Yeah, it looks very strong, so we may fold a little bit more, but and we are not performing terribly. It's not that big of a mistake as it may look like, but I think under the gun, just fold it and preserve the 2.1 big blinds, because I think on average in the long run this is not making many chips. Maybe it's probably just losing chips, and now we just have to fold against that raise. So wasting chips, don't do it. Just stay tight. Skipping ahead here, easy fold, 10-6, not worth it. Jack-6, easy fold. And Queen-Jack suited, very interesting spot. That's an interesting spot, I think, because I think it's just a raise fold. There's not much we can do. It's a great hand. We can also limp. We can include a limping strategy where we put our ace-king suited, maybe. Aces and kings here, like hands we want to get shoved on. And also this hand, this type of hand, which plays very well post-flop, but where we don't want to raise fold. So actually I think limping here is the best way, but we don't have to do it. Raising is also okay because getting the blinds is nice, but the thing is we have to fold it if we're getting shoved on. We raise. And we get it through, which is nice. Same hand again, slightly different spot. I think it's a raise, and if he shoves, we call. That's because pure pot odds, he will shove a lot of hands where we're almost flipping against, and a lot of money is already in the pot, meaning there's like 3.6 big blinds if we raise to 2.1, and we just have to call 3 big blinds or something if he goes all in. So yeah, yeah, that's that. If he raises here, this hand could fold, call, or do a crazy 3-bet, but I think it's too dicey. Probably folding is best. Calling can also be an option, but then you get in trouble when they reshove. Yeah, let's get through again. Queen deuce just a fold. Let's skip ahead a little. Dip, dip, dip. Let's just see if we find another interesting spot here. Oh, but I just saw another interesting one. And another one, and another tourney. Yeah, and this one, so let's skip to this one. We are on the direct bubble now because his ace-2's held. And yeah, I think this is interesting. So we have queen-jack suited on the small blind. What would you do? Write in the comments and then keep on watching. Okay, continue now. So we are chip leader, and the reason I'm sure we should shove is because we cover him. Everything he calls probably has us crushed unless it's like 9s plus or 8, like a pair of 8s plus or 7s plus. But we have a ton of fold equity because he really needs to think if he should call his ace-10 here, or any ace that's less than ace-jack, ace-10 maybe. And this is just for the win shove. So we have a ton of fold equity. If we get called, we still have some equity, but we want to play for first place in these. So we want to play pressure in spots where you can do so, and queen-jack suited is just perfect for that. Question is, what do we do if he shoves? Now, that's a totally different question, because now we don't have the fold equity, which is a big part of our of our equity, of our general game plan and equity. So if we call here, yeah, I think we might have like 35% or 40%, which could be 6.5 into 8.5. It's not 35, but 40%, it's almost, I think it is. The problem is, what are the outcomes? So if we win this, sure, we already make $2 and have a good chance to ship it, but still our chances are not so much higher to ship it, to win this whole tournament. But if we lose, we are losing 6.5 of our 11.8 big blinds here. And we are in the worst shape by far. We definitely need to double up to even get in the money. So in this case, it's a very clear case of the chips lost are not are worth so much more than the chips we can win here. That's just reason number one. Reason number two is his range should generally perform very well against ours. I think it's minimum 55%, but probably it's like 60% plus against our hand. So I think it's a very clear fold. I hope I'm doing that. Yes, it's a very pretty hand, but I don't care. You shouldn't care about pretty. I mean, and nines, super easy snap shove. It's a strong hand. Even if they call, we are flipping a ton, and sometimes we're even ahead against some ace-9 here, or a crazy 9-10 suited. Or against a lot of pairs, we are like 80% ahead. So very clear again. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Let me see if I find some more interesting spots in the... yeah, well, there's one more I want to discuss. This is really, really interesting. Okay. In the 10x. So button raises, and we have, like, here's 10.5 big blinds behind which we cover. And we're getting a price of 1 to 3.5 to call. I think it's a very clear call. The reason is we can flop a very strong hand, and then we have a great chance of realizing our equity, and we can easily get away from our hand on most flops. So we're getting good price to outflop him, maybe even if he has a very strong hand like ace queen or, I don't know, pocket kings, whatever. And on some boards we can just check raise all in, and he folds a lot because he just missed the flop. And maybe we just have a straight draw or flush draw, and we realize a lot of chips without even going to a showdown. So yeah, I think it's a clear call. If he raises, it's just a fold. If he calls, it's still a clear call. And yeah, we call. And the flop, it's kind of a dream flop in my opinion. Sure, it would be annoying like to see pocket queens here, then we are dead. But even against aces, like against aces, we are way ahead. He will never fold it, and we have a good chance to really double up and kick him out. So I'm probably always check raising here unless I'm up against a really strong player. And then I think this is a good board to bring a tiny donk, but not always. I think even against a strong player with a queen, mostly check raising. Against bad players, I don't want to have much of a donk range, I think. And the thing is, I mean, of course, it's very, it's one of the worst two pairs you can have. Like, it's, if a 7 comes on the turn and another 7 on the river, we only have a weak 2 pair with the 7s, and the other pairs counterfeit, and an overpair or an ace queen would win against us. So we really want to get it in on the flop if we get the chance. Otherwise, I would probably, if he would check here, I would probably donk big on the turn, unless the turn is super bad. Like, I don't even know what would be a super bad turn. I'd probably donk any turn very big, even if an ace or jack or king comes. So he bets very high. I'm assuming he has a queen a lot here, maybe some overpairs, or maybe a flush draw, but most of the time a queen. And I'm happy to see it because this looks like he's not folding, which is, I mean, folding, if he would fold here against our shove, also nice, because you pick up a lot of blinds already uncontested. But yeah, just calling is bad because the turn can bring some action killing turns where maybe if a king comes and he just has, I don't know, queen check, maybe he checks back and folds to a shove. So definitely just shoving here, very clear. And that's what we do. And we get the snap called. And he has one of the worst hands we can imagine because he has top pair plus a flush draw. and the 8 is also live, so if an 8 comes, he kills our 2 pair. And interestingly enough, he already has more equity than we have on the flop, slightly, but still. Yeah, it is what it is, but still, given pot odds, of course, it's still a great position. You have 50% chance to win this 25 big blind pot, and the 2 almost kills us entirely, and we're dead. But just a standard spot, I think, normally played by everyone. No mistakes seen here. Even he actually should even raise his queen 8 suited on the button, I think. So yeah, fine play. That's it. That's all I have for now. I'm gonna zoom out and show you the summary. I'm actually going to show you the summary here. So yeah, it was a great session. €9 plus in 82 minutes, giving us almost €7 per hour win rate. Leaderboard position at the end 18. Yeah, we played for 82 minutes. And this is the graph, a nice bump back. I think the mindset change helped. Of course, running good also helps, probably a combination of both. And yeah, one tiny thing to note, we got the rake back on this Monday, and it was €3.61, so almost 2.7x or 2.75x what we got the week before. Quite nice. Yeah, this could be the turning point. Thank you very much for watching, and let me know what you think about the summary format, like discussing hands in more detail, but just some selective hands. And yeah, leave a comment please, subscribe if you haven't, and good luck, keep crushing. See you soon.